MyT! MyT!
Wait, is this season 2? I wasn't even ready yet. So what? Do I just insert a hot take here or something?
MyT!
LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to repeat, but they are going to play the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Championship, and the Jets are going to be in the Super Bowl. You don't get much hot taker than that.
MyT!
Take that.
MyT!
Brooklyn's down, baby! Brooklyn's down!
MyT!
Good evening, and welcome back to another edition of the MyT Sports Podcast. I am your host, the one and only Talent T. Taylor. It is another beautiful day in my neighborhood of South Florida. Yeah, folks, we have another... What are we looking at today? Another 77-degree day. It's the 5th day of April. Women's History Month has just passed. April Fool's Day is just passed. Now we're in the thick of April. Spring is finally here. And we have a ton to talk about in sports. The NCAA men's and women's tournament has finally wrapped up. WrestleMania just passed us a couple of days ago. We're inside the NFL off-season. And I have to say a special happy birthday to my sister, Andrea Taylor Jackson, who's the only other person in my family, outside of myself, to join the military. And she's still in there, though. Her body held up way more than mine did. I was just way too abrasive with my body, as you could say. Like, I definitely what you could call it, say, throwing it up against the wall. And also, before I forget, I have to say happy birthday to my munchkin. It's going to be her birthday on the 8th of April, so just in 3 days away. So happy birthday to my sister. Happy birthday to my niece. Both of you guys, I wish you happy birthday. I love you both. Hope you're listening. Hope you hear this one day. This is for you. So, we are here today. And it is... I told you, there's a little bit of everything going on right now. Like I said, we have a little bit of... We have college basketball that just finished. We have regular basketball that's finishing up. We have football that is getting ready to start. We have the NHL that's in their playoffs. We have... I said NBA already in their playoffs? We have Major League Baseball getting ready to start. We have foot wrestling that just had their Super Bowl. And we got golf starting their Masters. So, if you're a sports fan right now, and also the Miami Invitational just finished up in tennis. So, once again, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say this one more time. That if you like sports, then this weekend was definitely a weekend that, or this last week has definitely been a week that you can enjoy. There was something somewhere, in some way, shape, or form, that you found. Whether it was something mediocre, or something that we've been looking at lately, and that is greatness. And there has been no other greater feat that has been happening so far in the NFL, or I'm sorry, not the NFL, but in the NBA, like what's going on with our boy. You know who I'm about to talk about. As Russell Westbrook has now, since the last time we spoke, has recorded his 40th and now 41st triple-double of the season. Now, if you don't know what that means, folks, let's take a timeout so you guys can get a better understanding. What that means is that Russell Westbrook has tied a record that has stood for over 40-something years. What that means is that with under 10 games left, actually, let's find this out. I think this is something that I wanted to look at right now. No, we're gonna see if this works. Okay, Google, show me the current NBA standings. I guess Google can't do that for me, can it? Maybe it's because the mic is plugged in. But we have less than 10 games left, and Russell Westbrook has already tied the record. So all he has to do now, I'm sorry, we have about 5 games left. We have 77 games. If you're in the West, Oklahoma City, very specifically, they have 5 games left. Let me turn this game down because as you can probably hear, the Boston and Cavs game just popped up in the back. It's a very early game. We have former Knicks player. I forget his first name. It's not Shannon Fry. Is it Shannon Fry? But definitely Fry. Channing Fry. We have Channing Fry going to the line to make his first 2 shots and the first 2 points of the game as the Cavaliers currently lead 2-0. Now we're just going to leave that in the back and let's let that run as we keep updating on this game. So, with just about 5 games left, all Russell Westbrook has to do in the next 5 games is put up 1 triple-double. So we're talking about within the course of 77 games, he's put up 41 triple-doubles. That's basically a triple-double every other game. Now, part of the reason why I really enjoy not only watching Russell Westbrook do his thing, but there's also another secondary reason why I'm enjoying this. And that secondary reason is because we get a chance to talk about Oscar Robertson. And I don't know if you've heard me say this in the past, but you're definitely going to hear me say this again if you haven't heard it before, so bear with me. Talking about Russell Westbrook and Oscar Robertson until the NBA does the right thing and finally gives the guy that averaged the triple-double his reward. And that is the league MVP. This is no longer 1965 or whatever year it was, where, like I said, once again, where we had a guy in the name of Bill Russell putting up the best record in NBA history with 60 and 20. Like, we know how well that has held up these days. Michael Jordan going 72 and 10, and not to mention Stephen Curry and those Golden State Warriors recently going 73 and 9. Even LeBron James has gotten has put up more wins than 60 in a season with the Cleveland Cavaliers before he went to Miami. We forget that there was a year he went 66 and 16, but didn't win a championship. So the number one thing that I am taking away from this is that we get the opportunity to talk about my favorite player that I've never seen play basketball, and that is Oscar Robertson. And that has to be the number one thing that I'm appreciating. Because if you go around and you talk to the majority of people, even the casual fan, until this year, and even this year with Russell Westbrook, with all these people saying that, oh, I love me some Russell Westbrook, I love me some Russell Westbrook, I love me some Russell Westbrook, and then you ask them, do you know who Oscar Robertson is? And they give you that blank stare, oh, the name kind of sounds familiar. The name kind of sounds familiar. It's always the number one answer when a nigga don't... Whoa. I apologize for my coarse language, but that name sounds familiar is always the answer of a motherfucker who doesn't quite know what we're talking about, or doesn't quite know what you're talking about. So they kind of give you that I kind of recognize the name, and then you mention, well, there's only other person in history to put up a triple double, and they be like, oh, that's the gentleman that they're talking about. Yes. That's the guy that they're talking about. Now, how would I know something about Oscar Robertson, somebody like me who's only 35 years old? Simple. I love basketball. Not only do I love basketball, I did fall in love with a lot of the numbers growing up. And I say a lot of the numbers from a historic standpoint, looking up numbers, looking up individuals, looking up what they did. Like there's no reason that somebody should know that 38,383 points is what is needed to break the all-time scoring lead. Nobody should have known that. But what most people do know is that you do need 101 points to break the all-time score, to break the single game scoring record. Everybody does know that. Everybody doesn't know that, hey, that you need to average a triple double for 3 consecutive seasons to actually put yourself in a true category as Oscar Robertson. Or in a category that surpasses Oscar Robertson, I should say. Because Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double for 2 straight seasons. And he'll be the first one to tell you, if I knew that it was to be such a big of a deal, I probably would have had a couple more. So, like I said, while Russell Westbrook gets to make history, and it helps us remember history, and talk about a guy in history that for what he's done, the only person I can put into this category that I say for what he's done gets slighted the most will probably be Bill Russell. For a guy that has won 11 championships, he isn't talked about enough as one of the greatest, or even talked about as the greatest. We're always talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaq even, Jordan. In some cases, Kobe and LeBron. Some cases, LeBron gets mentioned in there. But in this category, LeBron is kind of getting in there because when we're talking about players that are making history, LeBron is on pace to make history. And you know what? I told you this at the very beginning of this season because I didn't want you to. I didn't want it to come out of left field. I wanted you guys to know that yes, as much as I may not be what you call a LeBron James fan, it does not mean that I do not know the man's numbers or I do not have some slight inkling on a molecular level appreciation for this man's game. And just like how I told you back then, I am going to tell you again now. This man is on pace. And I'm going to say on pace because Kobe at one point in time was on pace before his freakish injury. Jordan at one point in time was on pace before he just couldn't hold out anymore. Karl Malone at one point in time was on pace until he stopped getting those assists from John Stockton. Excuse me. So when I say LeBron James is on pace, know that I just mean that. LeBron James is on pace. LeBron James right now currently has about 28,000 points. To be exact, 28,692 points. Right? He is currently the 7th all-time leading scorer. Which I kind of told you guys that he was going to jump from the 10th spot all the way up to damn near top 5 within 1 year. Definitely within 2. And that has not changed. If LeBron James stays on the current pace that he is at now, averaging about 27 points a game, that's a little over 2,000 points a game that he is putting up. 2,000 points a game for the next 5 seasons makes him the new all-time NBA scoring leader. Now, currently as it stands, like I said, he has 28,692 sitting in 7th place, right? Now, just to let you know in comparison, right? He will most likely eventually pass Jordan in total points. But just let me let you know this. While Jordan sits there at number 4 behind Kobe in all-time points, let's be very aware that Kobe is also going to be a person like LeBron. That yes, he's going to end up passing Jordan, but it's going to be in way more games that Jordan took to put up these same numbers. Because let's not forget, Jordan had 1,072 career games in which he put up his over 31,000 points of scoring. LeBron James is already at 1,058. By the end of the season, LeBron James is going to be 10 games away from matching Michael Jordan's all-time games played record. I'm not saying it's a record, but imagine how many games Michael Jordan has played, while being nowhere close to the amount of points Jordan has put up, nowhere close to the amount of productivity Jordan has put up, or nowhere near the amount of championships Jordan has put up by the time he has played 1,072 games. So just as another reminder, when we start talking about these two guys' career, let's just remember where LeBron James was at this moment of history compared to Michael Jordan at 1,072 games. I'm just saying. LeBron James is great. LeBron James is going to go down. You understand? By next year alone, if he stays on pace, he should be a top 5 scorer in this league by next year. And it's kind of stretching it. It's kind of stretching it to give him that number 5 spot that is currently being held by... Crap. I can't remember. Let's see here. We have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We have Karl Malone. We have Kobe Bryant. We have Michael Jordan. In 6, we have Dirk Nowitzki. And in Wilt Chamberlain. he will. I believe it's Wilt Chamberlain. He'll be passing as the 5th all-time scoring leader in the NBA. So LeBron James is gonna be close, and I have no doubt that LeBron by the end of his career will be a top 5 scorer. Will probably even be a top 3 scorer, as he's gonna chase to catch Kobe. The question, the $1 million question, is, can his body hold up for the next 5 years for him to be the all-time scoring leader? And let's remember, as I told you before, his body doesn't even have to hold up those 5 years. We'll break that down a little bit more when we come back from this commercial break.
Let me put you in a game. Being taken advantage of isn't a game, and it needs to stop. Aren't you tired of being ripped off by those other guys? Then, head to Multiverse Video Games to get the value you deserve on your games and gaming products. Your games cost money, and you shouldn't feel like you're just giving them away. So why continuously buy a membership for prices and deals that you should be getting anyway? Multiverse Games not only has fair pricing and great trading deals, Multiverse has a wide variety of games, not just all your popular next-gen titles, but also all your favorite old-school titles and systems, starting as early as Atari and Nintendo to as current as PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and yes, that does include PlayStations, GameCubes, and Xboxes in between. They've been family-owned and operated for over 10 years, just off the intersection of 183rd and 7th Avenue in the Nurses Registry Plaza. That's conveniently located at 830 Northwest 183rd Street, Miami Gardens, Florida 33169. Believe it or not, just 5 minutes from Sun Life Stadium, $7.90 the ticket, and oh no, let's not forget Tootsie's Adult Entertainment Center. Multiverse Games, where you save more so you can play more.
And we are back. If you're listening, thank you guys for listening. That means you're listening live on the MixLR app. That's MixLR app. Or if you're doing other day listening, I don't want to call it next day listening. If you're listening on your own leisure time, then I thank you. That means you're listening either one of 3 sources. The MixLR app I just told you about, because not only can you listen live, but you can also find every single show on the show reel here. It means you're listening either through SoundCloud Radio or TuneIn Radio. Either way that you're finding me, I do appreciate you taking the time to listen. But let's get back into this history being made. Because while LeBron James is going to be making history himself, let's not forget about his classmates who will also be making history. And we're not talking about the broken down Chris Bosh that won't be let back into the league by another simple-minded GM. They won't allow him to. He's too broken. They're afraid he's going to die on the court. We're not talking about Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade just can't produce like he used to. But also, let's not forget, Dwayne Wade is older than these guys, and Dwayne Wade has also had a couple more knee surgeries done at a younger age than these guys. So who am I talking about? Definitely Darko Milicic. So that leaves one. Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony? Yes! Carmelo Anthony we're talking about here. And what people don't realize is that Carmelo Anthony is almost on a similar pace to LeBron James. Now, there's some things that you have to take heed of, right? Or take notice of. That Carmelo Anthony, very first thing that you have to take notice of, Carmelo Anthony has played one whole season less than LeBron. 84 games to be exact. So a season in 2 games. LeBron James has played more than Carmelo Anthony. And they both average about the same 2,000 points a season. So let's let you know, Carmelo Anthony is currently sitting at like 24,000 points. You add his other 2,000 that he's kind of missing from that one season. And I don't want to talk in hypotheticals here, but you're talking about a guy that would have had over 26,000 points. The 26,000 points would have put him in the same top 10 when they were talking about LeBron James being in. But he's not quite there yet. But where he is at right now, as we talk about greatness, is in the top 25 scorers in the league. Now, how exclusive is this club amongst active players? I already told you that Chris Bosh, who's technically is still an active player, isn't part of this. Ray Allen, who's no longer an active player, would have been part of this. Tim Duncan just retired last year. He's no longer a part of this. And we all know what happened to Kobe. He's no longer a part of this. There are only 5 active players currently in the top 25 all-time scoring list that are current players in the NBA. I already gave you 2 of them. Actually, I told you about 3 of them already, if you're paying attention. Carmelo Anthony, who's sitting at 25 right now. We have LeBron James, who's sitting at 7. And Dirk Nowitzki, who's sitting at 6. Who are those other 2 in between there? Or those other 3, however you want to put it. For those other 2, we have Paul Pierce sitting at number 16. And Vince Carter sitting at number 22. Now, why do I bring all of these guys up? For the simple fact that Carmelo Anthony's sitting at, just like how I told you that in one season that LeBron James is going to take a meteoric jump in the all-time scoring list just because he averages over 2,000 points a season. Well, the same thing is going to go on for Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony currently sitting at 24,111 points. In one season, which is next season, as long as he stays on pace, Carmelo Anthony should jump from number 25 to number 17. Yes, folks, 8 spots is what 2,000 points is only separating you by 8 spots from 25 to 17. Well, he's gonna pass the likes of the guys like Allen Iverson, Ray Allen, Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, and Kevin Garnett. And if he's really proactive and really productive, even Paul Pierce. So Carmelo Anthony, the same way I'm projecting LeBron James, I'm going to project Carmelo Anthony. If LeBron James stays on the same pace that I told you that he's going to put for the next 5 years, averaging 2,000 points for the next 5 seasons, then he should be the all-time scoring leader. Just like if Carmelo Anthony for the next 5 seasons averages 2,000 points, Carmelo Anthony puts himself at 34,000 points. Now, I say 2,000 points for the next 5 years to understand that these guys still need 10,000 points just to get to where we're talking about. LeBron James needs 10,000 points to become number 1. Carmelo Anthony needs 10,000 points just to get into the top 5. The top 3 even. Now, the thing about them is that even better than Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and the rest of these guys, even not Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki has some time left if he chooses that he would like to come off the bench. But as LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony's minutes even diminish after the next 5 years, let's just say 3 years. Let's just say these guys have this level for the next 3 years. This is where things start to become tricky. And now Father Time really starts to catch up. Because let's say they only have 3 good years left. That means they have 4,000 more points that they need to accomplish their goals. Or the goals that I'm talking about that they may reach. Those accolades that they may reach. If their roles are reduced to a point where they're only averaging 1,000 points a season, now you're talking about them taking them 4 more years. So we're talking about 7 years now versus 5. Just to get the same numbers. 2 more years, you say? Well, how hard can that be? Well, what happens when you only play now 56 games that season? And now you only put up 800-something points that year, or 700-something points, and you're still chasing, and you're still chasing, and you're still trying to go after it. It becomes a never-ending cycle. And if these guys are willing to come off the bench and be bench players and be role players or do anything else, I doubt that they're not going to do because Jordan didn't do it. And I don't see Pippen on the back of any of these guys' names or jerseys. So I don't see. It's going to be interesting as we follow these 2 guys as they, from the same draft class, as they keep taking this meteoric rise up the all-time scoring leader ladder. Now, just remember that you can't be great in the NBA, for the most part, unless you can't make history in the NBA without making history, for the most part, in the NCAA tournament. And when I say for the most part, we're talking about, for the good majority, guys like Jordan, who won a national championship in college. Guys like Ewing, who took Georgetown to places that Georgetown hasn't been since. Guys like Christian Laettner, who has a whole generation hating him. Guys like Chris Webber and Jalen Rose, that changed a whole generation from a style standpoint coming into the NBA. Guys like Derrick Rose, who shows you everything from a point guard, explosive-wise. Guys like Stephen Curry, who begin to show you that range is nothing but a number. Or guys like Carmelo Anthony, that shows you that a freshman, by himself, in a school that has never done it before, could win a national championship. But that didn't happen for the men this time around. But it did happen for the women. As the NCAA tournament has finalized, the men and the women have come to a close. We have a new NCAA women's champion, as UConn is dethroned by the number 2 seed Mississippi State to break what was 100+ game winning streak for the Lady Huskies. Unfortunately for Mississippi State, that would be the peak of their tournament. As they made it into the national championship game, they just didn't have enough to beat the women of South Carolina, as they take home their first national championship in school history. The madness was just about as fair for the men. You had teams like UCLA with the ball boy get knocked out by that clever Fox. Just to see that same Fox and his team get knocked out the very next round. Yes, we're talking about Kentucky. But what that did for us, though, is that it set up a matchup between number 1 seed Gonzaga versus number 1 seed University of North Carolina. Gonzaga, if I'm not mistaken, looking for their first national championship. UNC looking for their third. As we told you, guys like Jordan has already won 1. Roy Williams, the head coach, already won 2. And when we come back, we'll tell you the results of Gonzaga versus UNC on the MyT Sports Podcast.
Find millions of textbooks and solutions on the go. Marvel at how seamlessly it fits into your daily student activities. Walking through the quad, shopping for groceries, exercising, doing your laundry, dominating at the county fair, mashing down a black diamond, going for a sunset horseback ride, devouring Danielle Steele's latest page-turner, feeding the bears, catching flying babies, letting loose with the gang, intergalactic lightsaber battle, saving an adorable puppy from a burning building, or simply in the classroom. Find textbooks, read e-textbooks, and get guided solutions all in one place. Chegg, improving the college experience however you decide to live it.
And we are back, and that commercial stops very abruptly. This is still a MyT Sportscast, still your host, Talent T. Taylor. If you're listening on the MixLR app, or you're listening on SoundCloud or TuneIn Radio, have you listened? I want to thank you for spending your time to listen with me. Woo! So we're back. We're still listening to, we're still talking some sports here, and we're talking about the national championship game. As we told you, everything was madness, 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 pure 100% madness. Puerto Rico, Dorama. Alright, so as UNC versus Gonzaga played out, and we're talking about a game that went back and forth, a game that if I'm not mistaken, also went into overtime. But at the end of the day, it wasn't Gonzaga's projected top 25 player. It wasn't even UNC's two projected top players. Not their top rated point guard, not their top rated top 25 player. It was their help that did it for them. It was a team effort. You know, they say that some games are just the ultimate team sport. Well, this happened to show you that it was not the stars, but it was the alls. And they produced. And it produced to a game that was 65-71 for University of North Carolina, folks. We're gonna stop this right here. 100% pure player. Yeah, they definitely get the award for that one. Yeah, so you get the South Carolina women winning the women's championship, and the North Carolina men winning the men's national championship. So all in all, Carolina, both North and South, get to celebrate.
Champagne showers, popping in the club, we light it up. 8 hour, I said champagne showers, champagne showers. Popping in the club, we light it up. 8 hour.
They get their champagne showers. Now, granted, most of these guys and gals aren't old enough to drink, so I guess they're gonna do like Kurt Angle, and they're gonna have a milk shower. You know who Kurt Angle is? And you don't understand the milk shower reference? And I guess I say NASCAR and have a milk shower. You know, Kurt Angle was the first one to do it. That has never done it before. You name me another guy, another freshman in college that has done that for Mania.
Smoke weed every day.
A good WrestleMania.
Smoke weed every day.
What you had was your WWE, was your wrestling moments, as always. You also had a lot of titles change hands. A lot of titles change hands at this WrestleMania. A heavyweight, one of the heavyweight titles at least changed hands that you know of. At least one changed hands. Between the Intercontinental and the U.S. Championship, one of those changed hands. One of the Women's Championships changed hands. One of the Tag Team Championships changed hands. The only thing that wasn't up for grabs was the Cruiserweight Championship, and that didn't change hands. And while we're talking about WWE, am I the only person that has currently now started to see the Andre the Giant Memorial Challenge that only happens at WrestleMania? Look at it as the WrestleMania Moment Participation Award. It's basically, if you weren't good enough to get on any of the main cards for any kind of fight whatsoever, you know what? We'll throw you in the Battle Royal before the thing, which they were having anyway. But now it's the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which they utilize to help, to one of two things. They utilize it to either honor a veteran wrestler, or they utilize it to push over a young wrestler. Because usually the people that are in there are either old guys that we no longer care about, older wrestlers that have lost their buzz, or young wrestlers that haven't found their pop yet. So what it did for Baron Corbin a couple years ago was help him have some kind of distinguished title to his name, a title to his name, right? Not like a WWE title, but a title, a memorial, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. That's his now title. It allows him to have a title as they keep trying to find a way to give him a push that has now lasted for 2 years. Last year, when they decided to honor Andre the Giant. This year, in the not Andre the Giant, but the Big Show. This year, in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, we happen to see Rob Gronkowski take stage. And Rob Gronkowski shoulder tackle somebody, and Rob Gronkowski get eliminated. Which was for a good buzz. Very good buzz, as Rob Gronkowski continues to do things that, if your name was, let's say, Ezekiel Elliott, you would have gotten in trouble for it. Well, let's say your name was Colin Kaepernick. You probably would have gotten some slack for it. Or if your name was Cam Newton, you probably would have caught some slack for that. If your last name happened to be Bennett and you played football, you probably would have caught some slack for that. But if your name is Party Boy Rob Gronkowski, it's fine. Who cares what you do? Just do whatever. You're an injured player that can barely stay on the field. Yeah, go wrestle. Go get tossed around. Go fall on that shoulder that has had to be replaced, or that elbow that has had to have numerous surgeries. Yeah, no biggie. You're just Tom Brady's best, favorite, #1 big target. But don't worry, you won't be next year. They got Cook. We ain't gonna go too much into football because we're gonna talk some football by the end of this show. Listen, we're gonna talk football for no other reason. Just to pay some homage to my homegirl, Michelle Simmons. Michelle Simmons? Did I say that right? No, sorry. Tanya. This is just to pay some homage, pay some love to my homegirl Tanya, who happens to love football. She's a football fanatic. So we're gonna give her some football all the way to the end of the show, so she would have to listen to this whole thing. Wonder who my homegirl Tanya is? Then if you listen to me on Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 6 to 7 on iHeartRadio, go to 1080 The Word, and you'll hear me every Tuesday and every Thursday night from 6 to 7. iHeartRadio, 1080 AM The Word. That's where you'll find me. And that's where you'll find Tanya and Michelle. So, this WrestleMania, it had its upsets, it had its surprises, it even had its creepy-ish, or its creepy moments. And it definitely had its disappointments. Not just minor disappointments, major. What I call catastrophic disappointments. As LeBron James goes flopping into the first row. And the crowd in Boston shows him the proper love that they should. Listen, there's nothing else I like about Boston is the fact that they'll give LeBron James the business like he should. As that score is currently now 39-24. At one point in time, the score was 20-4. Boston came all the way back to tie the game, even take the lead. And now we've seen, since then, the Cleveland Cavaliers, for the better part, have gone on a 22-7 run. Or a 5 run. That score is 41-24. Cleveland is up. Just about halfway through the second quarter. So we're halfway through the second quarter. Let's finish up with this WrestleMania business, right? I don't know if I want to, we'll come back and we'll talk some WrestleMania. But until then, I think we're gonna hit a commercial. Yeah, sounds about right. You guys sound like you need a break. I need a break. Let's break.
Pick up your phone, I'm on request.
So if you're stuck trying to figure out what to do on a Friday, again, stop it. Stop worrying. Let's stop it right now. Stop worrying. Stop thinking. Head down to Capone's nightclub. And this is in downtown Fort Lauderdale. This is where you'll find my good friend DJ Scepter mixing in the lounge room so that you can start dancing and start drinking. I understand. You may have to put your thing down and reverse it so you can start drinking, so you can start dancing. It doesn't matter what you do. Make sure you do it with DJ Scepter. This is every Friday from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Ladies, you bring your sexy. Fellas, you bring your swag. It's going down to Capone. But wait, there is always more. If you're trying to figure out what to do on a Wednesday, you mean tonight, Tal? Yeah, I'm talking about tonight. Head down to O'Malley's. That's O'Malley's on 441 between Coconut Creek and Royal Palm Boulevard. You'll find DJ Scepter DJing from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Trying to figure out what to do on a Thursday? Then head down to O'Connor's. That's just on the lower side of Boca. Still kind of 441-ish over there by Hillsborough-ish. Past that. You know, like Sandalfoot area. You know where all those after night spots at. But like I said, regardless of what you do, regardless of where it's at, DJ Scepter is playing everywhere that you want to be. Birthdays, weddings, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, bachelorette parties. Listen, he just did a joint for April Fool's Day. I thought he was joking, but apparently he really had a gig on April Fool's. We have Mardi Gras. We have Cinco de Mayo coming up. It doesn't matter. DJ Scepter puts a royal touch on everything. And to book him, all you have to do is go to bookings at djscepter.com. That's BOOKINGS. So bookings at djscepter.com. Take me out of here. And we are back with the Mighty Sports Podcast. And yes, I'm still here, Talent T. Till. I'm still your host. And if you're still listening live on the Mixlr app. If you're listening the next day or you're trying to lose your time, you listen on the TuneIn Radio or SoundCloud. Hope you got all of that. But if you want to catch me not talking sports, then just find the iHeart app, or you can still find me on TuneIn Radio, believe it or not. 6 to 7, 1080 AM, The Word. You can find me. I'll be there. Talking with interested women, interested men, people, life coaches, police officers, senators, judges, CEOs of non-profit organizations like Girl Power. I mean, you name it. I have met some of the most incredible people in this last month working on the Spill TV or the Spill Radio with iHeartRadio, or the Spill Radio show, Spill on the radio through iHeartRadio on 1080 AM, The Word. Completely blessed. So as we continue to talk some WWE, and this is the entertaining part of the show. I really hope you understand that WWE wrestling is exactly what we've always wanted, and this is how I explain it. Right? Well, give me a little. Bring that big pun back. Thank you. Puerto Rico, Dorama. Let me stop. Like I even know the words. I don't even know the words. But wrestling gives us everything that we've always ever wanted. Really, from our sports. In a very weird way. Because you know what we want? We want matchups to be overhyped. We want, when we see Cleveland versus Boston, tell me you don't want somebody from Boston talking smack to somebody from Cleveland, and somebody from Cleveland talking smack back to help build up what's gonna be that matchup. That's what we want in sports. It's the reason why boxing matches, even when boring, can draw millions of people. Mayweather. Even though I love the guy, but he knew how to hype up his fights that were going to be boring. Mike Tyson, that was the whole entire kneecap that just went into the desk. Yes, folks, the left kneecap is down. It is, man, down. But even Mike Tyson, even though he never tried to promote his fights, his abrasiveness and his personality alone made for interesting pre-fights or sale fights, made interesting promotion. Bernard Hopkins was another one that was good at it. So let's not act like wrestling is like this super fake thing that we don't like to watch. As if anything that we watch on television that isn't sports, we don't think is fake. And if you talk to enough people, and I'm talking about a good 30% of viewers, if not more, they will think that their sports is rigged in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's from up top or down to the officials on the court, or field, or ring. So, when I hear people talk about wrestling as fake, well, you know what? You let me know what show that you are watching for pure entertainment. That is just showing you all real life shit. You tell me, you show me. Show me. And I'll stop talking about wrestling. Show me on a consistent basis all of the shows that you are watching that are all real life shows. There's no over-exaggeration. There's no written scripts. There's no adding 42 bottles of alcohol to try to get a better response. Show me. Like my name was Mark McGuire or Jerry Maguire. Show me. So, we're going to keep talking some wrestling. Wrestling. Like I said, they build up the hype, they build up the, you get the backcourt beefs that you want. Like instead of having Twitter beef, they have backcourt beef, and then they take it out on the ring. But at least they've got you gonna take it out on the ring. And every little thing, and everything that you see in wrestling is always the build up for something else. Just like how when you watch a regular show, you're wondering how does the introduction of this character is gonna play off for the show future to come, or anything else like that, or how does this one event play out for future events in the show? Well, guess what? We do the same exact thing when we're watching wrestling. So, like I said, we had our upsets, we had our surprises, we had some creepy-ish, and we had our disappointments. And you know what? Let's start with the surprise of the night. The surprise of the night had to be the return of the 6-time tag team hardcore champion, not specifically hardcore champion, but champions, high flying champions. Oh, excuse me, Puerto Rico. Oh, no, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the innovator of the backstabber. I'm not talking about Primo and Carlito or any of those guys. Who I am talking about are the Hardy Boys. Matt and Jeff Hardy made their way back into the WWE and into WrestleMania, which you only can figure that is also setting them up, just like a bunch of other people, for their eventual retirement from WWE. But the Hardy Boys, the Hardy Brothers, the Hardy Boys are back into the WWE as they joined a 3-man tag team ladder match to make it a 4-way tag team ladder match. And yes, the ladder match being the playpen of the Hardy Boys. Well, we saw what 20 years of experience with ladders can do for a team, as the Hardy Boys were able, Matt Hardy was able to climb to the top of that ladder, take down the belt, simultaneously as Jeff Hardy jumps from a 30-foot ladder to crush Cesaro in the Celtic Warrior Sheamus. That was the surprise of the night, as that one event probably got the biggest pop of WrestleMania. It wasn't seeing Rob Gronkowski. It wasn't any other singular moment than when the Hardy Boys came out. That was the WrestleMania moment. That got a pop that could not be duplicated. When I say pop, crowd reaction. That could not be duplicated by any other match, any other performer that night at WrestleMania. As the Hardy Boys, like I said, we had a bunch of championships that changed hands. As the Hardy Boys walk away as the new tag team champions of Raw. And they turn around the very next day on Raw to defend those titles. Just to prove that it wasn't a fluke. And to prove that they will be here for a while. Now, the other tag team championship, you're wondering. How did that fare? How did that go? Who held on to that? And where did that stand? Now, how can I put this? It ain't happening, bruh. But that wasn't what I even want to talk about. Then we had the creepy stuff, the creepy side. I told you a couple things happened. We had an upset, we had surprises, we had some creepy stuff, and we had some disappointments. So we never talked about the surprise. Let's go into some creepy-ish. That Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton match. While the match itself didn't give much to remember, as Randy Orton fought for a championship that he spent the majority of 6 months chasing with an elaborate ruse where he decided to join the Wyatt family, break them up, then burn their house down. To go to WrestleMania and to become champion. And not only champion, there are only 3 people now in WWE history that has more titles. 3 people in WWE history that has more titles than Randy Orton. One of them is active. One of them recently retired, and one of them is running the business. John Cena, Triple H, and woo! Ric Flair. The only 3 that has more titles than Randy Orton. And listen, it has to come because you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. Every time John Cena takes a step up, closer or passes, closer to that record, guess where Randy Orton is? He's usually not far behind. Basically, Randy Orton is the Carmelo Anthony to John Cena's LeBron James. That's the easiest way I can compare that. But, nonetheless, the end result of that is that Randy Orton walks away as your new SmackDown champion. And then came to this disappointment of the night. Which, I'm not going to lie to you, my disappointment of the night was also going to be tied in with my upset of the night. I'm going to leave my upset of the night solely separate. My disappointment of the night was that Miz and John Cena match. As they fight with their bows all of a sudden. Which, I kind of wondered, why would you have a mixed tag team match if you're not just to simply show off your fake wife that really can't wrestle, that has no reason to be there because her timing's always off, she's not really any good, and if it wasn't for the fact that she got new tits, nobody would care about her. She's not even that cute. She has no ass. Like, for somebody that's Spanish, she was as plain, like, put it this way. If you remember what the Kardashians looked like before all of their surgeries, just know the Bella twins weren't too far up from them. I'm gonna say that the Bella twins may have been prettier initially than the Kardashians, but they have done just enough as much work that you're like, I remember what you looked like, boo-boo, and you weren't that impressive to begin with. So their looks weren't impressive, and their wrestling wasn't impressive. The only reason why the Bella Twins happened to stay in there because we had 2 bros that looked like they were kind of cute. And they could pull this Bella Twin magic to keep their matches interesting. Because let's not forget, like, the only good success that the Bella Twins have ever really had has been switching each other out. So that match ends with John Cena proposing to his fiancée, or to his girlfriend, Nikki Bella, whichever one she is, the Bella. And the reason I said this is a disappointing night because, this is a disappointing event because while a proposal is always a great thing to have, you understand that he almost got booed. He almost got completely. Nobody really likes John Cena. Nobody likes Nikki Bella. So he got down and he set up the proposal, and he basically almost got booed. He would have gotten booed if halfway through the booing, somebody didn't realize, you know what? Let's at least pay the moment some respect, because they sure as hell wasn't paying John Cena any respect. And now, my upset of the night, which is also my disappointment of the night as well. My second disappointment. In the WrestleMania 33 main event, we witnessed Roman Reigns take on the Phenom, the Dead Man, the Undertaker. In what was, I guess you could say, a good match, an okay match, another match that was given to show Roman Reigns' versatility, or his resilience, his stamina. Unfortunately, he was facing the Undertaker, and unfortunately for the Undertaker, this was a match to push Roman Reigns over. What do you mean by push him over, Talon? Well, what do I mean, fans, audience, is that every once in a while in wrestling, what happens is that to give a young up-and-coming superstar, that's why they always say in wrestling that eventually you always have to pay it back, right? Whatever was done for you, you end up having to pay it back. So what happens is that you have these older superstars, Chris Jericho, Undertaker, at one point in time, Triple H, even Shawn Michaels, to a little bit. Big Show has been the catalyst for it over the years. Kane. These guys get put in matches with young up-and-comers, and it is solely a match, not only for you to remember the greatness that the other guy had, that your veteran had, but to push that young guy over the edge. Just like when John Cena took on Undertaker in the early beginning, but John Cena ultimately lost. It's that kind of push. And Roman Reigns' push came at the expense at the Undertaker's career, as the Undertaker will retire from wrestling and WrestleMania on a loss. Yes, you heard that correct. The Undertaker is gonna end his career and WrestleMania at WrestleMania with a loss. The guy that is 23-2 at WrestleMania. Now 23-2. He was 23-1 at one point in time, only beaten by Brock Lesnar, who we can perfectly understand since Brock Lesnar did just also beat the brakes off of Goldberg. Suplex City, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Yes, it's 10 suplexes and an F5 later, and Goldberg was on his back, looking at the sky, thinking about, damn, how did I get here? So, as we see Roman Reigns face The Undertaker and beat him, there's only one logical explanation for this, which is very quickly summed up on the next show. Wrestling show, not my show. Is that this had to be an obvious pushover for Roman Reigns, so that the only two people that have beaten The Undertaker can now face off again. Because if you remember last year, when Roman Reigns was supposed to take on Brock Lesnar, everybody thought Roman Reigns wasn't ready enough. Roman Reigns also got punished for some off the, I guess you could say, off the court, off the field issues, for some personal issues. He got punished and got pushed back down in the card, got buried a little bit for a little while, and has had to work himself back up. Now, as he's had to work himself back up, he is being worked himself back up as the new super soldier. The new Triple H, the new John Cena, the new Undertaker, the new Brock Lesnar, the new Goldberg, Roman Reigns. Notice I didn't say Shawn Michaels, because that's where Seth Rollins is going to be at. But as we said, that sets up a match, which is definitely called out the very next day on Raw, between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And this time, it's not going to be interrupted by a Seth Rollins that happens to have the money in the bank to come interrupt in a match that people had set up a year ago that Brock Lesnar was getting ready to lose because Roman Reigns is pushing him. Now, Roman Reigns isn't a fan favorite. He is really being booed. People really don't like his character. But you know who does like his character? The same people that like the John Cena character. Women and children. And you know who really buys these not who buys the tickets, but you know who buys all the merchandise? You know who buys all the gear? You know who ultimately says, oh yeah, it's okay if our son goes and watches this wrestling event? The mommies. And that's all that matters. And Vince learned this a long time ago, and that's all that matters. It's the reason why guys like Ravishing and Rick Rude stayed so long, and yes, rest in peace Ravishing, as he went into the Hall of Fame. Joined by Teddy Long, joined by the Glamazon, joined by Kurt Angle, joined by the Rock and Roll Express, joined by Diamond Dallas Page. Bang! So there you go. Not only is that the show, that's WrestleMania. Disappointment as a whole. Triple H loses to Seth Rollins, that was good. AJ Styles beats Shane McMahon, that was a good fight. That was a really good fight. But back to this Undertaker fight for a little bit. Because initially, I don't remember this being scheduled as a no-holds-barred match. But when it got announced for WrestleMania, at WrestleMania, it was announced as a no-holds-barred match. And that was my first indication that this is Roman Reigns' match to win. Because Roman Reigns would not be beating Undertaker in a regular match. So if you notice what they did there, is that they did allow Undertaker to be retired at WrestleMania, the place that he has held his own, the place that was his yard. Excuse me. They allow Roman Reigns to beat him there, but not in a straight up match, in a gimmick match, which also is a sign of respect shown to Undertaker, because it's something that you may not realize from John Cena. John Cena, for all of the championships that he has also won, when it comes to pay-per-view, he doesn't lose any of those things in a straight-up match. They're always in a gimmick match. It's never an I Quit match or a last man standing match. Either. Or a submission match. Ladder match. Tables match. Table, ladders, and chair match. No disqualification match. Things like that. And that's what they did to Undertaker so they could give Roman Reigns his push. Now we're going to see is what they do with Roman Reigns. As like we said, Goldberg was just beaten at WrestleMania by Brock Lesnar after he's dominated Brock Lesnar for the last 6 months or so. Since what, Survivor Series? Maybe 3 months. So that sets it up. And we don't know if it's going to come at Payback, which I doubt. It's probably going to set it up for SummerSlam. And that is why we watch wrestling. Just same way you watch all your regular shows. Because you know what? You always constantly keep thinking ahead, at least I know I do, of what's going to happen. How are these things going to play out? How are these actions going to cause other reactions? And that's what we have in wrestling. That's what we had on Sunday. And that's what we have tonight in the Mighty Sports Minute. Mighty Sports Podcast, I'm sorry. The Mighty Sports Minute is actually probably going to be moving on to the Spill on the Radio. Folks, that is the show. I thank you guys, as always, for listening. I do highly appreciate it. If you're listening live, again, that means you listen to this whole show on Mixlr. If you're listening at your leisure time, that means that you have listened through SoundCloud or TuneIn Radio. As I always say, regardless of how you're listening, I do appreciate it. So thank you. Stay tuned. Stay blessed. You know where to find me on Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Mixlr, MyT Sports. Stay blessed.
MyT!
Sorry, boys. All the stitches in the world can't sew me together again. Lay down. Lay down. Always knew I'd make a stop there. But a lot later than a whole gang of people thought. Last call for drinks. Bars closing down. Sun's out. Where we going for breakfast? Don't wanna go far.